So guys, welcome back. Let's continue with the with the next part. Uh, so the plan is this two or three independent topic I'm going to discuss today about AWS. But I'm trying to create an environment that all these three or two or three independent topic can somehow relate to each other, and somehow we can configure the setup where all these two or three services or the concept that I'm going to discuss today will we can connect so that they will work together. Something like this, right? So the plan for today is one of the very important service. Okay, very much vast actually. Obviously, in this training of CSA or developer, we can't discuss that level, but we have very much just a general discussion on that service. But I'm trying to show you some extra demo and some extra information also that I always do. Okay, the service name is called DMS. Okay, it's a migration service for database, and so much is very, it's not small thing to migrate the database, but this service, the way it has been configured and constructed, migration would be so much simple with the help of this particular service. Okay, so what I mean by migration over here, we'll discuss. Don't worry, it's a database migration service. What I mean by this, we will discuss. Okay, one more service, not service actually, one more concept that's called VPC peering. That's what we are going to discuss, and one more concept is called VPC endpoint. We also going to discuss. So in some use case we need endpoint, in some use case we need VPC, and for some other things we need DMS. Okay, so these are guys plan for today. So let me start one by one. So let me first focus on the VPC peering, then we move to this particular topic. Okay, because VPC peering is so simple, right? Because you guys know the meaning of VPC. Okay, so let's say you know guys what is VPC. So it is our one private isolated network. Okay, or in this network you have some subnet. Okay, subnet, and inside the subnet guys, normally you launch instances. Okay, so maybe in this subnet you launch two instances, maybe in this subnet you have launched one instance. Okay, so by default it is a characteristics of the VPC. Any instance you launch here, let's say IP1, IP2, IP3, everybody has a connectivity. So either you launch this guy in subnet 1 or you launch this guy in subnet 2. Maybe the subnet is private, maybe this is a public. In any of the scenario, there's a by default characteristics of the VPC. I told you and I show you as a demo also. By default, everybody can connect to each other. Okay, so these are by default property of the VPC. But let's say this VPC is created in a region, and let's say this region is, let's say, Mumbai. Okay, but there might possibly guys in the same region. Okay, you create one more VPC, maybe let's say in the Mumbai region. Okay, and in this again we might have some subnet, because without subnet we can't launch the instances. And in this subnet or in this lab, I launch an instance, or let's say this instance IP is 4. So again guys, this is a different VPC. VPC always give you isolation, right? Means they are private. So any system within this VPC, let's say this is VPC 1 and this is VPC 2, any instance that is in this VPC, we can connect to each other. But if you have a requirement, and there's very common requirement, okay, if you want, this instance will connect to the instance in VPC 2. Okay, so if you want this kind of connectivity, by default it is not allowed, because VPC will isolate your resources, your network. Okay, so by default they don't allow you to connect two different instances between over the two different VPCs. Okay, this is one thing. Now in any of the cases, maybe this VPC maybe in the same region, or maybe you have one more VPC. Okay, we have subnet one instance there, let's say IP5, and this VPC maybe let's say in North Virginia, maybe in the different region also. So in any of the cases, if one VPC want to connect to other VPC in the same region, in multi-region, okay, or there might possibility. Okay, right now guys, this entire setup I have created from my account. So in my AWS, I have my own account. Let's say my account is Vimal, and inside my account, I go to multiple region, and from there, I create this VPC. But maybe guys, um, let's say I have a company Linux World, and in this company, one of the account I own, this is my account, and maybe one more team member we have. This guy has their own account. Let's say the name is Jack, for example. So in this company, uh, we have a multiple different team, different peoples. Everybody has their own personal AWS account. Okay, and there might possibility that my role in this company from the AWS from my account is to is to manage the web servers, or I can say the front end. So I was launched my front end over here, or maybe my backend is managed by Jack. So what Jack do? Jack will log in from their instance, or maybe Jack, due to some reason, he want to launch the instance in North Virginia, maybe in Mumbai, wherever they want to launch, and they launch one instance for database. Okay. Now, point over here is database is always your backend. Okay, and normally, guys, front and back end work together. So we have to provide a connectivity. Okay, where my front end this system will able to connect to this system. Okay, so this connectivity we require. Okay, now guys, there's two way to have a connectivity. Okay, one, we can do it very easily. How? So let me guys create this diagram one more time. So let's say this is the instance we have, or this is my front end, or let's say this is my web app. Okay, and IP of this instance, let's say, is 1, and running, this guy is running from my account. In my account I have VPC1, and in this VPC I created a subnet, means lab1, and here I put this instance. Okay, and again we have one more instance running, let's say running from a Jack account. Okay, and they are running in their VPC. Let's say their VPC name would be, let's say, VPC5, and they have their own subnet, maybe subnet 2. They launch a database instance here, or it is backend, let's say IP is 2. Okay, so requirement is okay, if you want your front end to work, you have to connect to backend, and if you want to connect, your front end should know means IP1 should know where is the IP2. And how can you do this connectivity? It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. We can expose this IP, means we make this IP public, or I can say whatever the instance, guys, we are running the database, maybe in EC2 or maybe in RDS. You can ask them that I want there to connect this system with the public IP. And if this is a public IP, anybody in the world can connect. Same IP I can provide to my this instance. So this instance will connect to this IP. And how they connect? Okay, so technically this instance will go out to the internet. From the internet, they go to further internet, means I'm talking about the ISP actually, this ISP, and from here they can connect. So technically connectivity is not big deal. If you want to connect one instance in other VPC in another account, want to connect to other instance in another VPC in another account, or maybe the different same account, two different VPC, or maybe same account, two different multi-region VPC, any of the case you have. Okay, connectivity of two instances is not big deal. Only thing that you have to do, right, you have to provide the public IP. Okay, again, providing public IP is again not big deal. A big deal is, guys, this entire traffic will go and route through internet. So that is not good. First thing is, I told you guys multiple time, internet is not reliable. Okay, in the terms of security, also in the terms of network connectivity, also, or network availability also. Or maybe some kind of bug come up, somebody might be from the internet might try to break my data. Okay, so internet, using the internet for the some core typical companies where they have very critical data, they never want to use internet. And that is a reason that is a reason we normally don't allow to provide a public IP to the database. If you give the public IP, so there might be possibility some hacker try to to connect to this public IP. Maybe they don't know the password, but they try to break the password. So rather than we get a chance, you give the chance to these guys to break our password. It will better. It will better that don't provide connectivity. Okay. So to have a good practice for security, our need is, I don't want to provide a public IP. If I provide, there is no challenge the connectivity we can do. That's what we want here. But the good practice and security practice say we don't have to provide a public IP to the database. It means my database is only having a private IP. Okay, and if you know guys, if your database has a private IP, then this database or this instance can only connect to other instances in the same VPC in the same account in the same region. Okay, so that's what guys the challenge here. so so technically to solve this challenge, what we have to do, we have to take the help from AWS and say, AWS, I know you have a global infrastructure, you have your own private global infrastructure that I guys already talked about in a global acceleration class. Okay, so they have the global infrastructure, and they have their own private network globally, and they are secure that nobody from the internet can log in. They are very reliable. So I can ask the AWS, can you do one thing, that I have my own personal VPC running in my account, let's say in Mumbai region. Jack has their own personal account running their VPC in their account, let's say in North Virginia region. Okay, so can you do one thing? Can you, we use your private global network? Only thing that you do, right, just connect these two VPCs. And the network that you use to connect this VPC would be your private network. If they are in same region, just use internal data center. If they are in different regions, use your private global network. They are so fast, very quick, and very much secure also. Okay, so guys, finally, this is the use case actually I'm talking about. So finally, if you want one instance to one other instance running in any of the account in AWS, we can use internet with public IP. So there's no challenge in the terms of connectivity. But if you don't want to use internet due to any of the region, okay, then AWS provide a facility where they can help you to connect two VPC of the any of the account or any of the region, or maybe in the same region. And connecting of these two VPC is known as VPC peering. So with the help of VPC peering, you can achieve this setup. So having the VPC peering, okay, and it would be very simple. Okay, technically behind the scene, Amazon has to do lots of things for us. Okay, but technically for our perspective, if you want to if you want to set up VPC peering, so it is not big deal. So very quickly we can do this setup. So guys, that's the meaning of VPC peering, and these are the some use case where you want to use VPC. Maybe some of the resources that you have in your VPC, some of the resources you have in other VPC, another account, or maybe in your own account in other data center or region. If you want, they will connect to each other. They can communicate to each other without using public network. You want to use private IPs or means private network, then the use of VPC peering come in play. Okay, so that's what guys the uses. So let me very quickly show you this demo. Then I go for VPC endpoint. Again, it is something like this, but for other purpose, VPC endpoint. Then after the endpoint, I will discuss you about a very important topic that's called DMS, database migration services. So what I'm going to do, so my plan guys is something like this. Okay, my plan is something like this, but you can guys twin this practical if you guys are working in a team. Especially I'm talking about earth guys. So one guy will use their account, other guys can use their account, and connect both the account of AWS to see this demo. So my plan is I'm doing something like this. I'm going to create a one VPC in Mumbai, and I'm going to create one more VPC in, let's say, North Virginia. Two VPC I'm going to create. And you guys know, whenever you create a VPC, you have to always give a network range. That's called network ID or subnet ID or subnet network. So let's say my plan is to provide this one has a network 10.0.0/16. This is my plan. And let's say my plan for this one is 11.0.0.16. And understand one thing, guys, because your plan is that one of the instance from this VPC want to communicate to this VPC. So obviously, guys, both the instance should have a different IP address, and from where they get the IP address, from this range. And because they're getting the IP from this range, so obviously, guys, this both the VPC should have a different network range. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, so it is there's one prerequisite for this VPC peering. Okay, if you're using in your account, or maybe if you use my, for example, my account, and you have your own account like Vimal and Jack, for example. So if I want to connect my VPC to your VPC, so both the VPC should have a different network range. Otherwise, it conflict, or maybe it might not work and allow. Okay, so there's a prerequisite. Just keep this thing in mind. So, so my plan is one instance here. I want to connect to this instance, but for VPC, I have to give some range. Whatever range you give, it would be unique. Okay, so guys, let me do this practical very quickly. How to create a VPC, you guys know. Okay, so let's very quickly create a VPC. It will be a quick revision for you. And creating the VPC is so much simple. Just go to your in the top, launch a VPC wizard. Okay, and my plan is to do something like this. Let me go for VPC public and this one. So they create one public subnet and one private subnet, net gateway, everything they guys set up for you in one click. So you don't have to worry about routing table, everything this wizard will set up for you. Otherwise, we know actually how to set up every component manually. But let me right now here use this wizard to everything to be automated. So only thing you have to tell here is your VPC name. So let's say this is VPC. Let's say I'm creating Mumbai. Okay, so this name I'm giving here. So what is a range of network you want to give? So my plan is to give a network range of select 16. So this is my plan. Okay, and so in your private, sorry, this range I already given you in the top. Here they're asking you what range you want to give your public subnet. So I think you guys know, but very quickly, let me also quickly revise this point. So this is your VPC. Inside the VPC, we are going to create two different uh, subnet, because my next spectacle would be depend on this. Okay, and this subnet would be known as public because this guy has a public connectivity, and this would be a private. Or I can say outside guys can connect to these systems. Okay, so this is also a way you can think. Okay, so that's what guys they are creating here. So for public, I'm going to give this range, and private, we are using this range. 1 minute. Let me use 24, and let me use 2 here. 24. Okay, or maybe if you don't have to change, just to make it simple, let me go back again so you guys don't confuse. So everything guys they give you pre-created, so don't worry. They have given this setup for you. Okay, so 1 minute. Public, sorry, use this one. So they give it to you, just give your VPC name. So let's say this is VPC 1 Mumbai. Okay, so any special change we have to do here? Okay, no. What is the service endpoint? That's one of the topic today we will discuss discuss today. Okay, so as such there is nothing we have to, guys. So technically from wizard, creating the VPCs with this kind of with two subnet would be so simple. Okay, so here guys you have to provide some elastic IP. Okay, and because maybe they are going to use internet gateway. Okay, and there we have to provide the IP address. So I don't have a public IP. So 1 minute, what I do, what I do. So let me go and very quickly EIP. Let me create one public IP. Allocate. and that's all. So new public IP come up. Okay. So if I click here, this IP come up, I'm going to attach this IP. Okay. So this concept I already explained you when I was discussing about to set up the net gateway. Okay. So this is the only thing. So you attach your public IP to the net gateway. Okay. So my private guys will use this network gateway to go out, but nobody can come in. That's a different point. Great. So just one click, the entire VPC is created in the Mumbai. Okay. And by the meantime, they're launching. I'm doing one more quick thing here to show this demo. I'll go to, okay, I go to EC2. Okay. In EC2, I'm going to launch one new instance so we can see this particular demo. So once time I'm launching here, let me go for Amazon Linux. And by default this one, and here I'm using this new VPC that I created right now. This name doesn't come up here because it is still creating. So this part is done actually. So this one VPC in the Mumbai is created, and same way guys, I'm going to create one more VPC with the same kind of setup. Okay, in North Virginia, again these guys will have a two subnet, public and private. Okay, so this thing you know, but it will be, let's say, in North Virginia. Okay. So for this, I'm using North Virginia here, and plan is to create VPC. And let me create with the launch widget. Same way, nothing new, right? So you can create here, but plan here is finally we have to connect both the VPCs. Means we have to peer these VPCs. Okay, so only rule is network range of this guy should be different. Otherwise, IP will conflict. Whatever IP you provide to the instance will conflict. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm changing the network range of this particular guy. Okay, and accordingly you have to change your network range of public subnet also and private subnet also. Okay, that's the only change I am doing here. Otherwise, everything is same. Okay, and you have to provide you know, a public IP also. It is called EIP. Again, I don't have any public IP in my North Virginia region, so I search for EIP. It helped me to create a public IP. And guys, IP is per region, right? So in this region, I don't have the IP address. So one click, new public IP come up. Guys, this IP is not free in your free tier. Okay, they charge you very small, but they charge you. Okay, so this come up, and I'm doing really faster because this kind of setup we have discussed multiple times. Okay, and then finally, guys, your one more VPC has been created in the North Virginia region. Okay, this is created in Mumbai. Okay, so let me guys very much quickly launch one instances to show you the demo that if you launch any instance here, okay, this instance won't able to communicate with this instance. Okay, understand one thing guys, this is private and this is also private. But yeah, if you launch any instance in public, okay, if you launch any instance here, and if you have one instance here, let's say this is IP1 and this is IP2, and because both are in the lab or subnet called public, and because they are in subnet public, we might be give public IP to this guy, so these guys can communicate to each other. Only drawback here in this way in this communication is they will go and connect via internet, so they are not reliable. But in this setup, if this IP is 3 in the private and this IP is 4 in the private, okay, in any of the situation guys, they won't able to connect. They can't use internet also because they don't have a internet connectivity. Okay, so in both the cases here, my plan is IP1 want to connect to IP2. I don't want to use internet. Or maybe by default IP3 is not able to connect to IP4. Okay, I want this guy connect. So in any of the situation, you need VPC peering. So VPC peering will give you a one kind of illusion that these two are not two different VPC. You are in the same VPC only. And there's a by default there's a by default facility of same VPC that any instance in the same VPC want to connect to each other, they can connect. It doesn't matter that you are in public or private. Means if IP1 want to connect to IP2, you have public or private IP, doesn't matter, they can communicate. So this is a by default feature of VPC, you guys know. So VPC peering is giving you illusion that they are not two different account from VPC from different account, or maybe two different region. Okay, in any of the situation, think this is one single VPC, and the way you do communication with one single VPC with your private AWS network, same facility we are going to provide. Okay, so that's what guys this will do. So technically my final plan is to show you how this guy can connect to this guy. Okay, so that's the plan. So for this, um, let me use AWS in the Mumbai. Okay, and let me launch an instance, this one, and next, and this VPC guys I'm putting in this Mumbai. Okay, and understand one thing guys, I'm want to put in the private world. Okay, and because you're putting the private one, there's no meaning to provide public IP, because if you're in the private, nobody can able, you can't able to go to out and nobody can come in. Okay, I can say nobody can come in, so there's no meaning to provide. So I'm just putting this guy in private. So technically this particular instance, number 3, I'm going to launch. Okay, so everything is by default. Let me tag Mumbai VPC 1 OS 1 something. Okay, let me allow all rule. So we won't focus much on firewalls. Okay, and let me use some key to launch. So guys, by chance guys, they are launching sorry, actually, you know what happened, my private subnet has by chance created in 1C and 1C T2 micro is not supported. So let me do small change here. Okay, so let me use T2 small. Okay, so yes, I want to change next and launch. So nothing technical here. By chance, maybe this is also not installed. You know why they're saying 1C? Because by chance, guys, when I use my wizard in Mumbai, when this VPC created, okay, this VPC has a two subnet. If I go here, they create a two subnet. Okay, and the subnet that I am talking about here, wherever they create in in 1C. 1C. Okay, and because they created in 1C, 1C Mumbai doesn't support some types, so I have to take the raise the ticket on the support department of AWS, and if they support, they will allow me. But right now, I don't have. So what to do? uh, uh, so let me guys launch this guy in the public one. Okay, so because I'm going to use private IP to ping, so you can see the same practical. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm putting this instance in a public. Think you are in your public, you are in you are in a private, because if I don't use public IP, finally the communication will be in private only. What I mean by this, uh, what I mean by this, so I'm putting this system 3 over here, maybe in the public, maybe this guy in the public, but I'm not associated public IP here. No public IP, so it look like a private. So same thing. Okay. So just a small adjustment I have done because that is not supported by chance in my account. T2 small is not supported in 1 minute. Let me do one more thing. I think they are doing 1 minute, guys. So why they're launching? Oh, my both the subnet actually 1C. That's the challenge. Both the subnet is in 1C. Okay, so what I'm doing, let me create one new subnet very quickly in the same VPC. You guys know how to create a subnet. So I'm using the VPC called this one. And I'm going to create a subnet called my subnet, let's say in 1A. Okay, and here I'm manually telling I need 1A. Okay, and here I'm using the network range, let's say 2.0, because other range I already use. Okay, so this all guys you know already, so I'm doing a little faster. Okay, so this will solve our issue. Again, let me go back and refresh and this come up. Now it won't create the issue. Okay, and by default when you create a subnet, by default subnet is a private. How I know it is a private? So when you create this subnet, I don't know what name I've given, but when you create a subnet, guys, it is a private. 1 minute, where the name of my subnet? 1 minute, I've given which name? I know where's the subnet would be is a private by default. That's the point you guys know. So so let me launch this instance. So nothing fancy here. There will be some small confusion because I have to go back in here due to some small reason. But technically, in this VPC one of Mumbai, I create one private subnet and I launch one instance here over here. That's what I have done. Same thing I'm doing in Virginia. Okay, so I'll go to AWS, so EC2, and launching one instance. Even though guys you might have tried this kind of practical, you know this system won't able to connect to each other. Okay, but how to solve this? That's what the plan for today. Okay, so launch one, and I'm launching in this VPC. I don't know. Oh, come on, I've given the name right, or I haven't. So so I think this one, let me give the name here. So this is a VPC2 of North Virginia. Let me give the name, is always helpful. Okay, so refresh. This I'm using, and I'm putting this guy in a private again, but I'm putting no public IP. Okay, and everything is by chance. Let me allow all, launch, and so okay, so finally what I have done, I have launched one instance here in North Virginia in a different region, and I put, let's say, this instance for. And guys, very different data center, very different region, but obvious if they want to communicate, only way possible way till now is public IP, means internet, but we don't want to use internet even though we don't have internet IP, public IP also. So so second point way to connect would be to using a private network of AWS. And if you want to connect this two guy and want to use a private network, okay, then option would be VPC peering. So we have to do VPC peering to do this setup. So before I do this setup, okay, let me do one thing. Let me log into this system. Okay, log into the system and try to ping to this system to check. Right now they're not working, but after we establish VPC peering, then you will see connectivity will start. Okay, so let me log into this instance. Okay, this instance is running, initializing, but let me go to Mumbai. This instance might come up. Is running, active. Click here. Okay. Why this guy has a public IP? I don't know, but we'll use private IP only. So let me connect this instance with EC2 instance connect. And now what I'm going to show you here is, okay, if I see my IP is this one. Okay, why they say use this range? I think I use a different instance altogether. Why they use this one? I think this is the instance, right? This is the right instance is what I'm talking about, but this is in the Virginia. This is right, but in the Mumbai, why they use a wrong? One minute, guys. So why they use a wrong one? So let me launch one more time. I don't know why, what mistake I did. So I'm going to use this VPC in A. I think guys, maybe A might be having a public IP, maybe, but here I disable all the already public IP. Maybe last time I might miss, but let me check again. This is a new OS Mumbai VPC one something. Okay. So the other thing I know you know, so this is I'm doing like quicker to save your time. Okay. So it is launching. So after launch, there is no public IP comma. That's what we've seen here. Now from here, I can show you all the practical for today's. Okay, so we are going to set up VPC peering, then we go for VPC endpoint, then we go for database migration. All this setup, guys, all this product setup, guys, will help you to show you all the three topics. Okay, because everywhere I'm going to use this particular setup. So finally, my setup, if I create a clean diagram, I have one instance having the IP address 10.0.2.194 and this instance in the Mumbai. Okay, and one more instance I have here in Virginia 11.0.50 11.0.1.58 in North Virginia. So target, guys, here is today we have to connect these two, guys. Interesting thing is they are the different region and different VPC altogether. Okay, so that's our target. So to check they are not to have a connectivity, first I have to log into the system and show you they don't have a connectivity. So let me do it very quickly. Connect. Okay, and connect. But there's no option come up, guys. Understand one thing, you can only connect the instance that has a public IP attached. So this instance don't have a public IP attached, I can't able to connect. So how to connect? So if you want to connect to this instance from my laptop, so we have what we have to use Bastion host. Okay, so what is Bastion host we already discussed. So in this VPC I will launch one more instance. This instance is a public IP. From my laptop, I can connect to this instance because a public IP. But this instance, let's say this IP 100, this one and this 194 is in the same VPC. So from here, I can do SSH. that would be local connectivity. So this instance is known as Bastion host. So this kind of demo we have always seen. Okay, so use this approach. So very quickly again, let me launch one more, or even though let me use Mumbai because in the Mumbai, that instance I already have some instance already running to save our time. So I already have one instance running that I have public IP. So let me use PuTTY to connect. EC2 have this one. And I think the key that I attached to this guy. So my key name is, I don't know which key I attached. So where the security. So key that I attached to this guy, where is the key name? It should be somewhere here only. Okay, can you able to see which key attached or it's not attached? Yeah, this is this one, right? So it's connected. So guys, you know what this system is? Just a Bastion host. Bastion host means means this instance that have public IP, and you connect to this instance. I log into this instance because from this instance I want to go in, because I can't directly go in because this guy don't have the has a public IP. Okay, so I can go in. So, but again, guys, they are not in the same network. So, but let me try. It won't work, but let me check. Obviously not work because by chance this instance, guys, is not in the same VPC, right? So this sometime setting up the environment takes some time. So let me launch one more very quickly, because this instance, that is a Bastion host, should be in the same VPC only, right? Because same VPC is the one who provide a connectivity internally. Okay, so this one using and I'm using some public subnet, so I can connect from outside world, enabling public IP. So guys, this is a Bastion host I'm configuring right now. Okay, and let's say all traffic allow. launch, attach a key. This one. So finally, in the same VPC, this is VPC 1. I launch this. Then I log into this guy. For me, I log into this guy. And why I'm logging to this instance? Just to confirm you right now that this instance don't have a connectivity to this instance, because they are the two different VPCs. That's the only thing I want to confirm. Okay. But after I establish the VPC peering, then you see, guys, these guys will start connecting. And why I want to connect to this system? Maybe this system might be your RDS instance, or this system may be your web front, or sorry, your web application, right? So there might be a possibility. Or maybe if you want to test one more thing, you can launch one RDS here of MySQL in this VPC. So see, this kind of practical also can perform. But right now, just for testing, I'm using EC2 instance. Okay. Oh, same issue. Let me use the alter in the other way. Let me launch Bastion host in new version. So let me launch here. Okay, same thing. I don't know unwanted today what happened. It's wasting the time. So I'm using this VPC, public, allow public IP, allow all, and this one. So I'll use this one. Okay. So by the meantime they launch, let me very quickly explain you one more topic. So finally it will save our time. Okay. The topic is VPC endpoint. What is peering? I already explained to you. What is endpoint? I will right now I'm explaining you what is endpoint. So both the practical I will show you in one go. So there's one more concept, guys, called VPC endpoint. Okay, so what is use case of, or what is the concept of VPC endpoint? So let's say you have one VPC. In this VPC, you have one subnet. By chance, this subnet is private. Okay, and you have one instance running here. Let's say IP is 1. But you guys know there's one concept called net gateway. So if you add a net gateway somewhere here, so what this net gateway give you facility? They give you facility with the help of net gateway. This instance can go out. Nobody can come in because you are private, but internal system can go out to the internet. Okay, so there's the the use of net gateway that I always show you and demo also. Okay, so let's say this instance have a capability to go out to the internet Plus this instance also have a capability to go out to any other instances that have public IP, or this instance also have capability to go out and use any services like S3, maybe like RDS, or maybe like XYZ service. Okay, because understand one thing, guys, in the AWS world, S3 is a very different service. RDS is also a very different service. But we have a requirement that I want this instance will use S3 bucket. Why? Because in S3 bucket, they have a data, either they want to download, if they want to upload, they want to use S3 bucket. Okay. And if you want to reach to S3 bucket, maybe you are into the AWS world in your VPC. VPC is a part of AWS. Maybe S3 is again the part of AWS data center, but technically for the AWS, this is EC2 service and this is S3 service. So if IP1 want to go to S3, okay, so the way they take the route, they will go to the internet gateway, they will use the internet route, and from the internet ISP somewhere they go and go again, come back to AWS data center and connect to S3. Sorry. This way, guys, they use other services. So if one instance in your EC2 want to use other services, okay, maybe why they want to use other services, maybe this system, maybe your management system. Management system maybe means we have a AWS command line here. And from this command line, they want to create a bucket, upload something, and do something. So rather than I use command line in my local laptop, this one, I'll install this command line over here. Okay, and this command line I'm managing the other services, or maybe I write some AWS SDK program, or maybe from my Python program or Boto library, something like this I use to set up this guy or to manage this guy. Okay, so in any of the cases, again I'm repeating, guys, EC2 is a service of AWS, S3 is also service of AWS, but if one service want to connect to other service, okay, they will always go first to the public world, to the respective ISP, then they go with respect to their ISP, then they connect to S3. So technically, technically, they use internet, public internet, and that is obviously not at all secure. Okay, so the plan here is, okay, because AWS already has global infrastructure, private infrastructure, very powerful. So why I use public internet here? Let's communicate internally. Okay, benefit would be speed fast, reliable, and obviously secure. So I want this instance will connect to S3, okay, using a private link or private network of AWS. That's what I want. Okay, so that is our plan to do. And here, guys, the role of VPC endpoint come in play. Interesting thing is, because we are connecting private, so now we don't require internet gateway also. So I say my instance because you are here just to manage my other services. So why you have to go to internet net gateway? Why you have to go to internet? Okay, I'm just providing you the endpoint facility, and from your instance you can connect to other services. Whatever you things you want to manage, you can go and manage them. And for this, guys, we have to establish VPC endpoint. And what I mean by endpoint here, okay, and just one thing, guys, S3 service. And if you remember in my initial classes, I told you what is cloud. Cloud is just a program. So all the technology, storage, security, they abstract it, create one program on the top of it. And this program is written in some language. Okay, but this program is running somewhere in some of the IP address, in some port number. Okay, and that location of IP address port number is called endpoint. So same thing, guys, S3 also what? It's just a program. There's a lot of huge storage they have, and on the top of storage they create a program, and the name of program is S3. But wherever they are running the program, okay, that particular URL and location and port number or IP address is known as endpoint. And so if you want any internal service of AWS, for example, IP instance 1, want to connect to S3, so you have to provide S3 endpoint to this instance. That's what you have to provide. Okay, to tell this guy that this is the S3 endpoint. And by chance it is not enable, you can think in this way. So we have to enable over here. Because that's what, guys, let me show you the demo. You will understand technically what I mean by enable here. But if you have this kind of requirement, if you want to have, if you have one issue instance, and from this instance, I want to connect to my other service to manage, and I want to use, and if you want to use a private network of AWS, okay, then the EC2, sorry, VPC endpoint concept we need. So technically, from this example and this example is different. Use case of this, both the example is same. I want to use AWS private network, but both the example we have a different requirement. If I very quickly conclude both the example what I've discussed till now. Okay, if you have one instance and other instance, and this instance is also EC2 instance, this is also EC2 instance, but both are running in different VPC. Okay, and if you want this instance of this VPC, want to connect to this instance of EC2 in different VPC, then in this case you need VPC peering. Okay, but here both the guys are EC2 instances. Okay, or not our EC2 instances. Better would be a better word I can say. If you have anything running in this VPC, if you want to connect anything running in this VPC. Okay, so this is VPC 1 and this is VPC 2. Anything maybe EC2 instance, maybe RDS, maybe Elastic Cache. So anything running in this VPC, if you want to connect to this VPC and vice versa, then the VPC peering come in play. Okay, but if you have this requirement that you have this instance running, that's IP1, and if this instance IP1 have a capability to connect any of the services like S3, like like maybe EMR or RDS. Okay, if you want to connect these services, why? To manage these services. Okay, with the command line or maybe with the SDK, means by program like Python something. Okay, then we need a VPC endpoint of this guy. But in both the cases, in both the use cases, this guy and this guy will use AWS private network. Again, in this case of this guy will connect to this guy with AWS private network. Okay, so both the side they use private network, fast, secure, reliable, but use requirement is different. Okay, requirement different means here we are launching our own, resources. RDS is my database, instance is my, I put my data here. This is managed means inter data is managed by us, instance data managed by us. Okay, but here there's a service, and this service we want to control or manage. So and there we use VPC endpoint. So guys, when I show this demo, you can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's two things I am going to show you, and that is the reason I launched this particular setup here. Okay, so this instance come up. Let me use Putty. So this is my bastion host. Okay, and let me use a key. So I connect to my bastion host. Okay, over here, even though I have the required to log into root account from, you can check. And technically where I am in, according to my last diagram, I am actually here. Let me very quickly create one more time. This is VPC of North Virginia. We have one instance here. We have one instance I launched, and this guy has the public IP. And right now I'm here. I'm here in this system of public IP. Okay, this is the system. Okay, and my plan is first to check, can I ping this guy to this guy? Obviously, guys, if you're on the same VPC, you can by default ping. And IP of this guy is somewhere I write, I don't know where I write. So IP of this instance is this one. Let me go out. Is this one. So can I ping this? Let me very quickly check. Obviously, firewall I already allowed. So yes, answer is we can ping. Okay. But from I have one more VPC in Mumbai. This is North Virginia. I have one more instance here. Okay. And by chance, this guy have no public IP. They have only private IP. So from this instance or from this instance, can I ping this? Let me check. Technically, no, but let me check again. So this is Mumbai. And I think this instance I launch. Not this one. This one I launched. So this do have public IP. I have private IP. Can I ping? Answer is no. You can't ping. Okay, because you are under different VPC. Okay, but I have one more thing I want to practically quickly want to show you. From here, can I ping this guy? Obviously not, but I want to show you this thing for some small region. Okay, small region. From here, can I ping this? First of all, guys, both the guys have a private IP. Both are different data center across the world, in India and in North Virginia. And even though they have private IP, technically it shouldn't ping, and they will want ping, and that's our target is. And then we will establish VPC peering, and VPC peering is going to help us. But let me check here. From here, can I ping this? But so because this guy has a private IP, so I can't log in. Only way to log in, because I'm here already from my laptop. So this system I use as a backend host to connect to this guy. Let me do this part very quickly. And so I can ping, so I can do SSS also. Okay, and for SS I need a key. I don't have a key right now. Obviously it won't allow me. And key I have in my local computer. So what I'm doing, what I'm doing here, let me use WinSCP very quickly to transfer my key. To this instance in North Virginia. So this is this IP, username is 2-user. I'm attaching my private key, authentication part. You guys know this point because okay, login, connect, and I'm transferring the key so these guys can log in. And obviously, guys, my plan is to log in from this instance to this instance, so I require password of this one. Okay, so my password, I don't know, maybe in download folder, maybe. Let me, one minute. SSH. I'm a lot of data in my laptop actually. AWS. One minute, guys. So password name is start from Mona. So 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute, guys. Just let me stop sharing my screen. Let me very quickly check. Just 1 minute, please. I put my download. Password name is going to be SSH. Yeah, I found it. So, so guys, transfer this key. Okay. So this system has this key come up, and I use this key with I option that you guys know already to connect. And guys, this I'm so sorry. I have to transfer .pm key first of all. So this key I have to transfer .pm format. PPK only support main technically in only in putty. Again, this might fail. You have to change the permission. You guys know 400 of this key. Otherwise, they won't allow. Okay, so login. So you know, very small steps. So very quick. I was here because there's nothing technical, so much technical here for you. So finally, somehow, I landed here. Okay, and from here I want to ping to this guy. Okay, so I know the IP of this one. Let me copy from here. So where is the IP? Let me check from here. So I want to ping to this guy. Okay, ping. Obviously, it won't work. Obviously, not work. So my plan is, guys, here. This is our plan. 10.194 is the IP of this one, and from here, the IP of this guy is 11.58. Okay, from here, I want this will connect to this guy. Okay, and the only possibility is in this situation, because both has a private IP, no public IP. Only possibility or right possibility is VPC peering. So till here, guys, you all know already some use case I talked to you. That's a different point, but practical what I did right now, you guys know everything. Okay, so now is the time to go to VPC peering. Okay, so for this right now, I'm in the Mumbai. I'm going to the VPC of the Mumbai. Okay, and this is a VPC page. And if you go here, right, you might see endpoint is the next topic. We'll discuss in a minute. And if you see, guys, the option called peering connection. That's the thing I want to establish over here. And they're asking you, do you want to set up a VPC peering? Again, guys, I want to tell you one more time, just from here, our main topic start till now, what I've done. If you're not able to understand one of the component, don't worry. You know already, actually, in from my last classes. Only focus in this point. My plan is to connect this system to this system across the multi region from different VPCs. Okay, so that's what we are doing here. I'm creating a peering connection. You can give the name my peer to North Virginia because I'm in the Mumbai. Okay, and VPC peer request, which VPC is sending a request. So technically, it worked like this. Right now, I'm in this VPC one, and let's say this is a VPC two, and VPC one want to connect to VPC two. So these instances can connect to these guys. Okay, so this guy will send a request to this VPC. So this VPC is known as requester. Okay, so who is the requester here? So in Mumbai, I might have multiple VPC. So this is the VPC here. Now I created VPC Mumbai. This is the one who is a requester here. He would like to, this guy will like to request to other VPC. They predicted that your VPC who want to request has this network range. That's what I created. So this VPC has a network range 10.0.0.0 slash 2016, whatever they have. Okay. So now here the point here. So all the use case I was talking about is will be covered in this page. So you do want this VPC connect to this VPC in the same region in your account, in the in your account in the different region, or maybe this VPC in the any of the region in other account, other account of AWS. Okay, so right now guys, I'm logging from my account. Okay, and my account, uh, I want to connect other VPC of my account. So I'm going for my account only. But if you want to connect to VPC of other account, you can go for other account name. And here you can ask, for example, here you guys have somebody here, for example, Jack. I can ask Jack, can you tell me your account ID? So he will get the account ID from here. He can tell the account ID I put here. So from my side, I'm sending the request to your account because I want your VPC connect to my VPC. So my instances can ping directly to your instances without public network. They use a network of private network of AWS, something like this. But here, both the VPCs in my account, I'm using this. Now, other VPC that you want to send to connect as a peer means you want to connect. This called peering is in the same region of Mumbai. So again, guys, if you both the VPC in the same region also, you won't able to connect. So you want this or that VPC is in the other region. So in my case, it is in the other region. So which region they are in? Okay. So my choice in my case is in North Virginia. Okay. And the request that you are sending to this VPC, so this is the one who will accept your request. So this VPC is known as acceptor. So your requester, this guy is acceptor. Okay. So here guys, you have to give the acceptor name, and so here we have to give the VPC ID. It won't come up automatically. How to get the VPC ID? You just go to North Virginia. This is a VPC I want to connect, and this is the VPC ID. You have to pick from here, because here these guys have more VPCs. So which VPC you want to connect? That everything is identified by unique ID. Copy the unique ID, okay, and paste over here. So here I want to send the request. Okay, so this is the guys only thing you have to do. So simple, but technically thing guys behind the scene, these guys have done a lot of setup for us. Two different data center, other different account or same account, they are somehow establishing this setup for us. Okay, and that's all. So technically from my side to this region, my request has been sent. Okay, request has been sent. Okay, well, it's only sent. So guys, here is in the pending pending state, pending acceptance. Okay, so if you right click, nothing come up, refresh, nothing come up, go to action, nothing. You can delete the connection, there's different point, but nothing is there. So obviously guys, you are sending a request to other account, or you're sending a request to other VPC, other region, or maybe other region managed by different user in your account. So obviously you want technically there's no technical security way that without any other permissions you just connect to their network. So you just send the request. Okay, that's what you've done. So other account or other region, for example, in my case is North Virginia, this North Virginia, okay, they will approve my request. So right now I'm in North Virginia. According to the diagram, I'm here in North Virginia, and what I do, I'll go to North Virginia VPC peering connection, and what you'll see, guys, this was automatic come up. Okay, and what this guy say, that somebody has sent a request for you to acceptance. Who sent? This is the guy who sent to your VPC. Okay, so from this network somebody sent. Okay, and who's the owner? So my account, I'm the owner. So technically, see, though both the ID same, my same account, I send to same account. Obviously, both the ID is same. But if I send to other account, then your ID will come up. Okay, my ID will come up here. Okay, and who sent the request? The guy who has the, this is the unique ID they give to us. So finally, what you have to do, you have to accept. So there's option called accept to do it. And this, just by clicking on this accept, your VPC peering established. Click, that's all. Yes. Okay. And they're saying this has been established. There is no challenge. Now you can send and receive traffic from both the VPC to each other. Only thing that you have to do is to add the route. Okay. So what I mean by this, let me do it. So they say we have set up this thing is now active. So in North version active, or because these guys accepted. So if I go to my region and refresh, it is also active. So technically VPC peering is done. Okay. Let me again go back to my instance to check, can I ping now? Again, no. Okay. Why so? So here, now this is not the issue of the VPC peering. We have to do something else here. Okay. And what we have to do, this concept I already explained to you, but very quickly, let me quickly revise so you can understand what technically we have to do. Okay. So I have this instance here, IP1, this is instance 2, IP2, this is a different VPC, and this is the different VPC. Okay. And you guys know every VPC, or I can say every subnet, okay, we have a router. That's not visible, but we have the router. Okay. And when any instance want to go to other network or internet, they always go to router. And router is the one who decide where to take. For example, if the system say I want to go to Google 8.8.8, so this way is because you go to router, and router is the one and say, okay, 8.8 is there in the internet. I will take you to my internet gateway or to the internet or to ISP, something like this. Okay, so router is the one who will decide the route. So technically what I'm talking about, by chance I know my network is 10.0.016 and we know this network is 11.0.0.16. Okay, so if you want to connect to this system, there's a part of this network or this network range. So when you ping from your system to this system, obviously what do you write? You write 11.0.0.2. And this request always usually go to router, and router is the one who decide where to take the request. Okay, so what we want here, router should take the request to this system, or I can say router should take the request to this particular router. And this router has a connectivity, they will help you to connect further. Okay, so technically what I'm talking about, this concept we discussed already in very detail in my VPC part, but in this router we will update any request, any from any of my internal computer want to go to any of the IP of this range. Okay, my router will send the request to this router. And for this guys, you have to update the routing table. That's what the message was saying at that time. Okay, so this message when I accept this, what they was saying there, you update your routing table. And obviously both the side, because obviously these guys also want to connect, or they reply back. So this router should know, okay, when they reply back, where this network range is attached to this router. Okay, so this routing table we have to manually update, but between this the network connection is done by VPC peering. So that you don't have to worry about this connection is done by VPC peering, but you have to just update your routing table. Okay, so for this what I'm doing, if you see guys, this VPC peer, we have a route table. Okay, or maybe this route table might not help. Okay, um, so we go to our VPC first. And this is a VPC I used, and in this VPC guys, they are using some routing table. This VPC using routing table, and in this routing table what it is written, okay, that if you want to connect right now guys, I'm in the Mumbai Mumbai region, and their routing will say any traffic of this range is local, don't take me internet, within this box I will connect to each other, but anybody else of any of the network, take me to internet, take me to internet. And guys, that's what is happening here. So if I'm trying to ping to IP11, they take me to internet, but this IP is not there on the internet. This IP is there in my is this VPC. And how to reach to this VPC? With the help of VCPA. So for this, I have to add one root here, and the root we to write that if I want to go to 11.0.0/16, this network range, this network range that is there in some of my other VPC. Okay, then in my case, the target is my uh, peering connection. Okay, guys, till later, guys, we have discussed already netting gateway. We talk about internet gateway, but this time I am using a peering connection. So we have already established some peering connection. Which one? This one. So this name automatically come up, and that's all. And that this is the guys. Finally, your route has been set. Okay. So in the Mumbai, any IP in this range, I don't want to go out is a local network. Okay. Any traffic want to go to this range is a different network. Before this, I will use peering connection that I already associated. Or any other IP apart from these two guys, take me to the internet with the help of this net gateway. So that's what this routing table. Okay, and we'll do this both the side and the Mumbai. Let me go to uh, you know the Virginia, and this peering connection is associated with your VPC. Okay, in this VPC we have this VPC has this routing table. Again, this routing table has the same kind of setup. Or this say I'm in the Virginia. My IP is 11 network range, so 11 is local for me. But for my system, if I want to send a request to IP 10, so apart from 11, everything is coming zero. So I will take internet. But here I don't want to use internet. So let me add this network. Okay. So in the Virgin, I'm saying if you want to go to 10 network, use VPC peering. Okay. So again, I go for peering connection. This is a peering connection I have, and that's all we have to update. So both the side we have to update and tell their respective router how to take the route till that guys. Okay. So I believe guys, this is the only setup technically we have to do. Okay. And you know what happened is very interesting, right? Two different VPCs and all the resources run in this VPC, maybe RDS, maybe issued instances, maybe Lambda function running. You guys know that a lot of services from which we launch a resources like issued instance, like EBS, hard disk, they are running in your VPC. But this time, all the resources of VPC 1 to VPC 2 we have connected. Now they have a connectivity. Now it doesn't matter this VPC in your account or in a different region. Okay, so let me show you this demo. So right now I'm in the IP of 11. Technically, I'm here in Virginia, and from here I'm using connecting this guy. Okay, last time it was failing. Now they have very quick connection. If you see why, very interesting. Time C is very much less. Okay, very less. Okay, even though they are very high technically, very high. Just think in this way. If I try to ping to Google, okay, maybe here this Google might be come to my nearest one because of DNS. But technically, what I'm trying to say, guys, from my computer, from this instance in Mumbai data center or Virginia, they're going to Mumbai. This is the long distance actually, but even though time is not so much high in millisecond, because they are using the AWS internet ultra speed internet connectivity, or not internet, private network they are using. But interesting thing, important point here is both the guys have private IP, no public internet connectivity. Even though they can ping, it is because of the BCPI. So they're secure, reliable, and everything they have. Okay. So now in this case, what can you do? Instead of this system, you can launch RDS instance. So RDS instance will be private, even though they're private, but from other region, you can connect to the RDS instance. So that's what you can also achieve. So any service you want to connect to other services, you can achieve by this way. So this point is done. Okay. Now let me add one more point here. So this is about VPC peering. Okay. Now, next point here is, okay, let's say I'm here. Let's say I'm here, and this system has only private IP. Okay, and if this system want to connect to S3 services, okay, by default, guys, if you have only private IP and you don't have any internet connectivity, okay, you won't able to connect S3. So let me show you. So let's say this is my instance. I only have a private IP. Sorry, this instance I have only private IP, and from here, if I try to connect S3, okay, it won't allow me. Like I have only private IP. Let me show you. So 1 minute. So from here, if I try to connect S3, uh, it shouldn't allow me. Let's see it will or not. So for these guys, I'm using command line AWS. So I think this instance has AWS command. Yes, they have. So let me connect to S3. You guys know this command. And let me list all the bucket in S3. Okay, it won't allow me because you have to put your credentials here. Okay, so again, under one thing, guys, because this is the issued instance, and the good thing about issued instance is, okay, if you want to connect other services from the instance, either you log in or you can attach the role. Okay, this word, guys, I would explain to you what is role. So I'm in the Virginia, and in the Virginia, what I'm doing here, okay, this is the instance I'm using right now. I think maybe this one. Yeah. So this instance I'm using right now, and this instance, if you want to, because this is the AWS instance, and this instance, if you want, they will go and use S3, but it is not by default allow. Either you log in with this command that you normally log in from a laptop also, or other way also available in issued instance to attach the role. Okay, so there is a option here in the top that here you can go and attach the role. And guys, here I'm adding new role to this guy, and that here role I already have, guys. This role allow S3. Otherwise, you guys can go and create the role. So again, this topic we already discussed in IM in very detail. So this role I am attaching to this guy. So what role will give you? So without giving your login and password, okay, to your instance, so it's secure. Nobody can get your login and password from this instance if the system get hacked, right? So because I test this role, a role to this guy, so this system has a power to connect to services, whatever we put in the role. Okay, now if I run S3, now guys see it is connected. And all the bucket in S3 come up. The point over here is, even though my instance, even though my instance is a private IP, how can they connect to S3? Because by chance, the way I set up my VPC, I have a net gateway. Because of my net gateway, okay, my this instance go to net gateway take me to internet, and from the internet I go to S3. So technically here this connectivity is because of the net gateway, but finally my traffic is going via internet, so that is not reliable and that's not secure. Okay, but if there's no net gateway, then what happened? So let me show you. If I remove the net gateway from the VPC, let's see what happened. So from the VPC, I'm removing the net gateway. Okay, so this is VPC I have. In the VPC, this routing table. Better way to remove the net gateway is to remove this line. This line technically remove the net gateway. Okay, so let me delete this one and save. That's the only thing you have to do. So now technically what happened? Okay, we remove this net gateway. Now none of my private system has the capability to go out internet, and without going to internet, they won't able to connect to S3. Now in this case, In this case, if I try to again list, now it's failed. Right? Means they're trying, but they don't have internet connectivity. Uh, uh, so obviously they won't reach to S3, or they won't reach to other services also. Okay, so that's the challenge. Or maybe you can think this way: maybe if I have an internet gateway, I don't want them to go via internet gateway. I want these guys will connect directly to S3 with a private network AWS because they're fast and they are secure. Okay, so that's also I want here. So in any of the cases, I want private network to use. So if you any resources like EC2 here want to connect to other services, okay, to manage. For example, right now I'm using this command. This command is for management purpose. Configuring S3, creating a bucket, go to EC2, launch the instance, go to VPC, go to RDS, launch the RDS. Okay, so for this, we always want to use, or normally we want to use private network. Okay, and for this, what you have to do, you have to create a VPC endpoint for this service. Which service you want to use, that service VPC endpoint you have to create. Okay, so finally, our practical would be, I want this command to be run. Okay, from this instance, but without having internet connection. Okay, I want to use AWS private network. Okay, that's what the goal is. Okay, so how to fulfill this? Again, I go to my VPC page and here you can find option called endpoints. Okay, click. And technically I don't have endpoint here. Okay, then you have to create an endpoint. And here they ask you which service you want to connect. Okay, so here guys, they list you all the AWS services. You can find the services by name. Marketplace service also you can use whatever you have, if so service name come up. And almost all the services, whatever is available in Amazon right now, they have all the services they have. Okay, almost all the services they have. So technically they're asking which service you want your internal guys can connect to you. Okay, so I want S3 to be used. So you will find S3 somewhere. S3. Gateway S3, where it is. Let me search. Yeah, here it is. So S3 we have. And guys, there is one concept called gateway and interface. In a minute, I will explain you what is the difference. Okay, so let me use S3. I'm using type gateway. What is gateway? In a minute, I will explain to you. So I want to have S3 endpoint. Okay, then what I want, from which VPC you want to connect. Okay, so so it work like this. It work like this. Okay, you have S3 as service, and you have lots of VPC. But let's say this is VPC. You have, let's say, VPC 2, and you want anybody from this VPC can connect to S3 service with a private network without having internet. So here they're asking guys which VPC you want to use. So in my case, I want to use a VPC, this one. You know, in right now I'm in North Virginia, so this VPC I've created. I want to use this VPC. Okay. Now, there's one thing. From this VPC, let me add one more point here. In this VPC, guys, obviously there will be 2 different or 3 or 10 different subnets you have. And inside the subnet, guys, you have instances. So which subnet instances or resources can go to S3? Okay, that's what guys they're asking here. Okay, so which subnet you want to go? Or technically, you know, they're asking in this way because idea is simple. S3 is a one service. They have their own IP. Or you can think S3 also have their own particular router, or you can think S3 also have their own personal network range that is internally managed by network range managed by AWS. So technically, again, the logic is same. Okay, what technically we have to do? We have router in this network, so we update this router with the routing table and say if you want any of the instance want to go to S3 network, use this part. So that's what guys they're asking here. Okay, though have to update a routing table of this guy. They will automatically update the routing table for you. Okay, for this guy. And that is the reason guys, right now what I'm doing here, I'm using the router of S3. A router is also known as gateway of S3. It's not visible, it's managed by AWS. IP range of S3 is also SS not visible, is managed by AWS. But right now I'm using the gateway of S3 or router S3, and through this router I have to go in to the S3 services. How? With the private link or private network, I say. Okay, so that is a region. There's a keyword here called gateway. Interface different thing we might discuss somewhere, but gateway is a one. That's what I'm using here. So I'm going to use gateway. Okay, because I'm going to use gateway, so I'm updating my routing table here. Okay, so my this routing table automatic update. How? By selecting this one. And updating from private one because my instance right now is running in the private. This instance that I'm talking about, this instance running in the private. Okay, so it is something like this. And there's a policy you can set up guys, what part you can access, what can you access. You know, this policy we have discussed already in our IAM. So you can control that you want to allow all the buckets and other policies, you know, lots of things you can write here. Which bucket you want to allow, not allow, from which VPC endpoint. So you can write here. Right now I'm giving full access, but you can very much control this part here. So that's the only thing guys. So technically if you see, nothing I have done here, only I selected which service you want to access privately without having public network is S3. And how you connect, I want to use gateway of the S3. But not all the service guys has a gateway. Okay, only S3 and one more service, I think DynamoDB. These guys have their gateway. So if you see guys here, okay, if you so go for Airflow, they have an interface. If you go to Athena, they have an interface. If you go to Bracket, Cassandra, they have an interface. Only two services, I believe, these guys had their own gateway: DynamoDB and and S3. So these two services have the gateway, but logic wise, both the logics are same interface. SS high level, both the logics same. Right, by chance, this topic I'm taking a little bit more detail. We don't have so much detail in our CSA level of training. So if you go to network specialized program, okay, there this concept normally we'll discuss in this level and obviously in more detail, but this is the concept normally we discuss there. Okay, so that's all, and let me create endpoint. That's all guys, these are only two setup. I click I and my endpoint has been created and it is also available. So finally, the summary here is anybody from this VPC, okay, want to connect S3, obviously privately with AWS without having internet. So I will use S3 gateway, okay, to connect. That's the entire meaning of this line. And who can connect? Anybody from this VPC. Okay, that's what it is written here. Okay, and if you see the routing table, right, this create some routing table. So who can create? Anybody from private subnet of this VPC. So it has been updated. And now if I go back again, okay, last time guys, you see this system don't have a even though guys this system don't have an internet connectivity here. Okay, without having the internet connectivity, okay, if they try to go to some services that normally we connect via internet internally, It's not visible, but connected by internet. Now it is connected. See here, because of this endpoint, we have a connectivity. So anybody from this subnet of this VPC want to connect to this endpoint, they can connect. We can control also that in this VPC you want to only allow this instance only. There we have to use policies to update who can connect, in which bucket they can connect. There's a different point. We can go more granular control, but as a high level, you guys get the idea what is going on here. Okay, so this is the concept of endpoint. Okay, this is the concept of endpoint, how it works. Okay, so there's two topic, somehow very much closer, not similar, closer. In one topic, VPC pairing, two VPC I'm connecting, and second topic, endpoint. Okay, if you are in the private world also, and you use any other services directly using AWS private, right? Then endpoint is the one who can use. These are two things we have discussed. Likewise, there's some more small network things as the requirement come up. I will keep on explaining you to those topics. Okay. So I had a plan, guys, to discuss one more topic today. As such, we don't have again so much in detail, but I would like to discuss this topic a little bit, a little bit in advance. So let's take this topic in next class. But let me, guys, today, because we have some small time left. Let me discuss some small thing with RDS. Okay, and guys, if you remember, in last classes we talked about KMS services, and with the KMS, guys, we can encrypt the storage data at rest. But if you want to encrypt your databases, let me create a database here. RDS service, guys, we already discussed. So if you want to encrypt your database, let me go for MySQL, for example. Okay, if you encrypt database, let me go for free tier, for example. Okay, so if you see here, let me give the password. Okay. So if you guys see here, okay, if you want to encrypt, okay, and if you even though go for additional information, right, as such, there is no SS option come up for the encryption. Okay, so there's no SS option come up for the encryption if you talk about the RDS storage. Even though if you go to production environment template, and there to see, do you have a way to encrypt the RDS? Guys, the database is very critical thing. Do you have a way to encrypt the database? So there's no Bison, guys, here while creating their option come up, but in dev environment we don't have option come up. Okay, but let's take in this way. Let's take this example in this way, so I can make you understand what technical I'm talking about. Let's say your RDS is already running. And initially you launch the RDS, let's say for MySQL, and that time, guys, you forget to enable this option, or maybe in the dev environment this option is not supported in any of the cases. Okay, technically your MySQL database is running, but it is not encrypted. Okay, so how you can encrypt database storage? Okay, if it is unencrypted. Okay, for this, guys, when you launch a database, the database name come over here. I'm just guys very quickly showing you, nothing as such for my program, but somebody asking me, so I'm just giving the answer to you. So when you click the database, your database name come here. Right now I don't want to create right now, but if you go to Excel, there's no option, guys, come up to encrypt the database. So if your database is unencrypted, or by chance some of template doesn't support encryption here, for example, Dev environment, in both the cases, if you want to encrypt your database, okay, so what to do? The only option is first you have to create a backup. That's called snapshot of a database. Means snapshot will come up here. Okay, first create a backup, a snapshot. Pretty simple. From the Excel, you can get it. This option come up here. After snapshot come up, we have a way to encrypt the snapshot. Then guys, from in the action, this option come up that do you want to encrypt the snapshot? Answer yes. So you can encrypt the snapshot. Okay. And from the encrypt snapshot, guys, okay, we can launch a new database. So because this is encrypted, if you launch a new database, okay, because snapshot like a backup, and if you launch a new database called import from already existing data, so new database guys will come up as an encrypted database. So this is the guys process normally if you want to use, because there's no option directly come up here if you want to guys to launch and try. So this is the process you can use to encrypt the database. So first create a snapshot, encrypt the snapshot, and from the encrypted snapshot launch a new database. Okay, so this process you can use if you have a requirement that you want to encrypt the running database instance that is actually unencrypted. Okay, just try it. If facing any issues, let me know. I will show the demo if you want, but pretty simple. But it will take some time to show this demo. Okay, DMS also the plan for today, but let me take the DMS topic in the next class with some more new topic. Tomorrow, guys, is a Holi from my side. Happy Holi, enjoy the day, and no class tomorrow. We'll see you guys in the next week. Any questions that if you have, you can ask me. Yes, Uday, not actually server migration, but the DMS is again part of that process perspective only. It will help you to migrate your databases. Okay, so if you're looking for migration, I don't know, there's a lot of thing in the migration perspective. Okay, uh, so that's what I was discussing about DMS. So in my next class, I will tell you how we can use DMS to migrate. So let me pick. So no, Abhi Manu, I haven't used default VPC. I use I use pre-created VPC. Yes, Muhammad, I will definitely explain you transit gateway and a use case. There's a different use case for this in the upcoming class. What is Firebase? It is again one service from Google Cloud, right? Google Clouds, and have a lot of facility of real-time database and some more things, right? So, so that is what. Yes, as soon as we will discuss, don't worry, guys, Harshit. Any things is left, we will definitely discuss. Do you know CCNA to work in cloud? CCNA, I think you're Sagar, you're talking about this program, but yeah, in CCNA normally use emulator or simulator like uh, packet tracer or GNS. So we have a GNS has some emulator in images that you can launch on the cloud, and that front end you can connect from laptop. So for practice, you can use GNS 3 for Cisco, right? And those instances you can launch on the cloud. No, Prakhar, it is not that true. TTL value is not always 2 to 5. In the server side or the system that we are pinging, they decide what TTL value they want to set. So technically, we never know what TTL value other guys has. Maybe they have 10 or 20 or 100. Okay, so the system decide, or whatever the front end router they have, they decide. Okay, so if you're pinging somebody, if you see some TTL value come up 250, or it doesn't mean they have 55 router or 5 router in between. So we don't know what TTL value they have in their destination computer. No, virtually there is no plan for 294 training again. We have already done this training, so 294 Ansible, there's no plan. So there's somebody asking here, what is a interface do here in this uh, endpoint? So it's not all the service has a gateway. Okay, the way they to connect is this service we have to use interface. Interface like a ENI card, your network card. For example, if you want to connect to let's say DMS service, for example, or let's say EC2 service. Okay, so only way is interface means you can think in the top of EC2 service they put one network card that's called ENI. Okay, and because they have a network card, so there's no option of gateway come here. And normally in the network card we have to use some IP address or host name. So here guys they provide you the host name of the endpoint. Okay, so that's what guys they're asking you enable DNS host name. I say yes. Okay, so my issued instance, if you want to get a endpoint, is interface only. And obviously, guys, if you have any network card, in network card we already attach some security group, so we have to add security group. That's the only difference. Otherwise, everything's same. Okay, and because this interface has, sorry, EC2 is not gateway, and there's no gateway, so we don't have to update any routing table. So guys, here there's no option of routing table coming play. Only we have to allow a security group. Means from this instance, if you want to connect to EC2, so what are the IP range of this instance you have to allow in their network or means security group. Okay, so now normally what facility you put in the network interface, you put IP address, you put you put you know a DNS name, or you to allow a security group. So only two service that has a gateway where you to update your gateway. Otherwise, you have to use a normal network card. Okay, so if I click this endpoint, one more new endpoint created. One more endpoint created. Okay, is pending. But if you see guys, is the interface. Because this interface, so internally we use this. Internally they use this host name to connect it, whatever VPC we have selected for. So as a setup perspective, there is nothing new. But only difference is if a gateway, you update the routing table. Even though these guys will ask you to put the routing table. Otherwise, you can manually go to VPC, update the routing table. There's a different way. For example, in my VPC, in my Virginia region, I've set up there. So if you see there VPC, they automatically update the routing table. So little guys, I try to speak a little faster today very quickly because as such we don't have so much detail in the program. So I just want to show you this practical. So I was a little bit faster. So that's all guys for today. Practice this. At least VPC pairing, very interesting concept. Just try practice VPC pairing. See you guys in the next class in the next week. Bye. Take care.